going to start our presentation with our land acknowledgement. Royal Roads University acknowledges that the campus is located on the traditional lands of the Esquimalt and the Songhees ancestors and families. And it is with gratitude that we now learn and work here, where the past, the present, and the future of Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, faculty, and staff come together. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we are going to start this presentation with Rob. So my name is Andrea Torres, and I'm the Student Recruitment Manager here at Royal Roads University. And today I'm joined by Dr. Rob Mittelman. He's the Dean of the Faculty of Management and Associate Professor of the Faculty of the Social Entrepreneurship and Coordinator of the Co-Director of the School of Business. Oh my goodness, Rob, I might need some help from you here. So maybe before I skip, just maybe you want to tell us about yourself and introduce yourself as well.
Sure, thank you. Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. So like Andrea said, my name is Robert Mittelman. I am the Interim Dean of the Faculty of Management at Royal Roads. That means I'm looking after both the School of Business and our School of Tourism and Hospitality Management. When I'm not the Dean, I am an Associate Professor of Social Entrepreneurship. And really, that comes from a background in entrepreneurship and wanting to do good, see some social change as a result of the business that I participate in. And so I was excited to come to Royal Roads about 8 years ago. And I came to begin teaching in the entrepreneurship space and teaching people about how they can use business to make the world a better place.
Thank you, Rob. So things have been changing lately. There's changing trends in the workplace and in different industries. Why are you so passionate about business, entrepreneurship, and management?
Well, I think we can see, the last year and a half have changed a lot of things for a lot of people. We can talk, it's not just COVID, we can talk about climate change, we can talk about all of the racial injustice, reconciliation, all the things that are these major movements that are going on in our world. And business has a place in both causing some of the problems that we've been dealing with, but also in solving them. And so to approach business management, even if it's not in a business, we're talking about organizations or government or nonprofits, and then entrepreneurship, that idea of finding and seizing opportunities and coming up with new solutions and innovations. I think the type of business education that we deliver is going to give people the skills they need to go out and have successful careers and impact in their communities. And I think it's a really nice interdisciplinary combination of everything you need to be an impactful leader and change maker.
Now you mentioned change maker. Can you tell us a little more how that looks like at Royal Roads?
Well, obviously it's obviously for you because you know me, but change making is an important word. Royal Roads as a designated Ashoka U Changemaker campus means that we are one of the, I think there are about 45 in the world right now, universities, committed to social innovation and social change in everything we do. It's in the education we deliver. It's in how we run our university. It's how we interact with our community. And it's important for me as Dean in the Faculty of Management, where I have two schools, business and tourism, which typically aren't connected with the idea of social change. There is in my mind, misconception about business and the role it can play. And for me, that misconception comes from the attitudes of certain people, like the CEOs. It's not about business, it's about the decisions people make and what they're prepared to do. So something like profit is not a bad thing. It's what you're prepared to do to get profit that can be bad. And what you do with that profit can be bad. So when we talk about change making and how to integrate the ideas of social good and community impact into your business, we have this system that we're in that's evolving, this capital as business system that we're in that's changing. And I think with a change maker type business education, we can try to get the best out of all the different pieces. And so when we take a real systems thinking approach to change, and yes, you're going to need business, government, nonprofits that need to be run well. And so that's part of the change maker education. The idea that businesses can go out and solve some of the problems that we have. And that means doing business in a different way. And so it's not a cookie cutter business or tourism education. It's you have to think about strategy and products and innovations and services differently. And business, what I like about business is that business gives you the freedom to do that. There is that conception that business has to be done one way, but that's, for me, that's incorrect. You can do things pretty much any way you want. Just understand that there are implications for that. And what we're trying to teach is to do business in a certain way that has positive social good, not just as an outcome, but as a core component of why you're doing things. So all of that together kind of like is change making. It's a change making business education or tourism education. And I think it's the way that business education needs to evolve, and that's the way it has to be.
Thank you, Rob. You already mentioned one of the strengths about Royal Roads, how our programs are designed and what we are hoping that people will learn through the programs and the outcome and the skills that will leave when they come to Royal Roads. Could you share maybe other most significant strengths?
I think one of the ones I touched on was that idea of interdisciplinarity. And so business in itself, in an MBA or our MGM or our MA in tourism management, are forcibly interdisciplinary. You're learning about all the different pieces of a business. And so that's qualitative, it's quantitative, it's from marketing and organizational behavior to finance and accounting, strategy. You're learning all those different pieces. But then what we're also doing in our programs is allowing you to specialize and take courses from across the university. And so, whether it's from our humanitarian studies or environment and sustainability, there's a range of completion options, specializations within our programs. So that's one, is that interdisciplinary piece. And I touched on this idea of systems thinking about how everything comes together. I think the two or three other things that I would mention that are incredibly important and central to what we teach are these ideas of communication, teamwork, and sustainability. And the business education, the content itself, is sometimes the means through which we're really teaching about communication and team building. So you're going to be able to walk away from here, and years from now, business might be done differently, but those core learnings that you get from Royal Roads around systems thinking, critical thinking, teamwork, communication are going to stay with you, and that's what's going to enable you to be successful moving forward.
Ray mentioned a little bit about the skills that people will learn through the program. So a question for you is that, do degrees still matter? Like, why people should come to university?
Absolutely. So look, on the one hand, the completion of a master's degree or of any degree matters because it is a signal that you've been through this process. It is letting others know that you've developed these skills. And a degree from Royal Roads should say something about the type of degree or the type of person, or the type of education, the skills that one person has. I think what a degree program also does is gives you the time and the commitment to think about these things. So we all live in busy lives. We have things going on. And sometimes without the structure of a program, and it's a structure that can be flexible to different situations, but that structure of courses and dates allows you the space you need to dive into some of these skills. Otherwise, I think it's just really easy to put it off and say, you know, I'm not going to do some reading, or I'm not going to, you know, take the weekend and not worry about anything. But the degree gives you some structure. It gives you access to, you know, leading thinkers. It gives you access to a cohort of incredible students that would be in a program with you. And we do like to say that our students learn as much from their classmates as they will from their instructors. I think it's one of the best things about Royal Roads is the experience that all the students bring into the classroom, and they get to share that with each other. And so you leave here with a network, a diverse network of people from a variety of industries and a variety of places, and people who you've shared this experience with, and you have a very strong bond. So all that comes together into why degrees still matter.
We're talking about that bond that happens through the program between your cohort as well as your faculty. Can you elaborate a little bit more how that cohort and teamwork maybe works for people that maybe had some previous education that was not part of the program?
Yeah. I think the education we're trying to deliver should really help you in your day-to-day, in your workplace. And so there is very little work that gets done entirely, you know, independently. You will be working with a team. You will have maybe you're supervising people. You might have bosses that you're reporting to. You might have colleagues that you're working with from your own organization or externally. And the team focus of every program is going to let you build those skills to speak with people from different backgrounds about business issues. And what it does going through this shared experience is create these connections, whether it's to it more like a mentorship, kind of like you find people who have more experience who you can turn to for advice, or when things are going rough, whether it's in life or in school, and people you can just turn to and talk to. It's really a wonderful thing. And so we do try to replicate how people work and how we deliver our education. So if you think about a traditional educational program and how that is seen in life, in work, I rarely sit in a lecture theater and listen to someone else talk for 3 hours and then get up and leave. That's not what happens in work, but that is what can happen in other universities, in other types of programs. The experiential team-based approach that you learn in at Royal Roads is what you're going to use in life.
Thank you. And a question that is a little bit generic, but where do our alumni go after they graduate? I know we have people that are coming to a blended program, maybe they have a more established career, or they are in a place that they just seeking for that education for what is next. But we also have students that are coming to our on-campus program that just focus for our program for a year or so. So where are they going next? What is next for our grad?
I think what's great about, so if I speak about the business school first, so the MBA and the MGM, they are what would be considered generalist degrees. So you're learning a little bit about everything. And so what it does is it opens the door to a good number of possibilities, whether it's in tech, it's in finance, it's in government, you want to start your own business. This education can lead you to whatever it is that you want to do. And then the specializations that I mentioned earlier can help you hone in on a particular interest. The MA Tourism Management is definitely geared towards a specific industry in tourism and hospitality. But yes, they also find a variety of positions from tourism providers to hotels.
Now moving a little bit about advice. What is the best advice you have ever received that you would like to share with the participants today?
I think that's a tough question. The one that stuck with me, and I didn't get this piece of advice as a student, although I wish I had. I got it when I took over this job. And it was about being authentic and showing up as myself. And you come into, whether it's a program or a new job, and there's this idea that, especially when you're new, you're like, I haven't done this before. Maybe I'm not the right person for it. Why am I here? I can't do it. And you develop this imposter syndrome that like everyone else deserves to be here, but I don't, because maybe I don't have the same background or I don't have the same amount of experience. But when you get to focus on being authentic, on being who you are, and trust that we've let you into our programs because we see something in you. So by being yourself, by being, and hopefully that authentic piece is, being open and transparent about, the things that you're good at, things where you need some help. That's really what's going to help get you through, because that team-based approach, and I learned it even in my job, that I'm not doing this job entirely alone. I've got a support network and people around me. And so if I'm myself, if I say, I'm really good at this, but I need some help over here, and then I get that help and the job is done better. And I don't need to pretend like I can do everything perfectly all on my own the first time. So in school, the idea is that you're coming to learn. So you have to be open to that. And so there are going to be some parts of a program because of a student's or a candidate's professional background. Like I'm pretty good at this. I already know some of this, but that means that maybe there are other parts that you don't, and be open enough to lean into those areas. And so students coming into our program have a couple options to either get better at something they already know, or build up those areas where they're weak. And they'll get the chance to do both those things in our program. And those areas where you're strong, you can help other people. And those areas where you're weak, other people are going to help you. And all of that comes from being who you are and being authentic. How's that? How's that? Is that all right?
That is awesome. Okay. I'm taking notes. Well, in my head. Otherwise, I will not be. I cannot multitask that well.
This is recorded. You can watch later.
Yes, I will.
Excellent.
So some of our programs are designed in a blended model. So students will normally come to Victoria for a few weeks and then go fully online, and they come back to Victoria and then they finish the program online. Some of our programs are fully on campus. So how that will look like? So maybe let's start with a blended program. How that looks like, how life will look like for those full-time students. At the same time they have families, they're working. So how is that? How people get to manage work, education, and personal life?
I think both the formats, the blended format and the on-campus format, have there are some trade-offs, but there are some incredible benefits to both. And I think what I like most about, the blended program is that when you come to Victoria for the residencies, you get to step away from your daily life and concentrate and focus with your cohort. And then you go home to continue working and studying. And what it means is that what you learn maybe in a class on a Tuesday night, you can apply at work on Wednesday morning. You don't have to wait until the end of your program to get a job and then say, okay, so how do I use my education? The blended programs, you can use your education the next day. And so you might be in a webinar or a class, a live class session, or you do a reading on a Tuesday evening, and you're like, this is going to help me with, maybe it's with one of my employees, or you're thinking about a new innovation, or there's a change process going on at work. You don't have to wait. Like, so I mean, when you think about undergraduate degrees, you don't have to wait 4 years. When you think about on-campus master's programs, you don't have to wait 18 months or 2 years before starting to apply your learning. So it is a commitment to blended programs, to evenings and weekends and doing your work. But because that's who we are, because that's who we've been for 25 years or so, our programs are designed for people who are working full-time. Our instructors are used to working with students who have experience and have jobs and families and other things going on. And so the blended program is a commitment. There is no education that we can just download into your brain. I mean, this is a commitment on everyone's part. And it will be a busy time in your life. And that's important to recognize and to make that commitment. Now, our on-campus programs are a little different because people come here, stay in Victoria and take the program full time. It's an opportunity to focus just on the education without some of the other distractions of work, although there is plenty of time to hold down a part-time job while doing our full-time on-campus programs. And then it's more of a traditional university experience. You're with your classmates face-to-face every day. You know, you can come over and visit with me or with any of the other professors who are on campus. And that's a much more traditional type educational experience. You don't have the distractions that you would in the blended programs. And I think it allows you, so if, let's say you have been in industry for a time and you need a break, maybe you're burnt out, you're looking for a career change, and you have the time and the flexibility to come to a face-to-face program, you can really focus on your education. You know, there's no one method that's better than the other. You know, it's quite often the same professors that are teaching in both, and they're all very experienced in delivering these types of education.
Thanks, Rob. I have a question about our faculty. I know you have said you have talked about their experience. Sometimes students will learn as much as faculty. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit. Who are our faculty? I know that is a big question because our faculty, we have a big body of faculty, yeah, and they are very diverse, but maybe there's any trends or something that we can talk about our faculty in general?
Yeah, so while many, like our core academic faculty, have their doctorates, they also have the industry experience. So we have very few, if any, faculty members who have just stayed in the university in the post-secondary system. So everyone here has done what they teach. And so it's not just theoretical. It's not just from a book. All of us can sit down and just have chats about experience. So if we want to talk about, if you and I want to talk about entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, successes and failures, I'd be happy to go into some of my stories because I did that for a decade before coming back to academia. And so many of our instructors are like that. And so they bring that to the classroom. So this is more than just a textbook for them. This is more than just theories that they've learned. They're bringing their real lives, their authentic selves to the classroom.
I got a question from a private message, and it is about what is the experience at Railroad for an international student? It's a big, like going back to school is a big decision for people, and sometimes moving from different cities, but how that looks
Different
like
countries?
moving from a different country, maybe a different language. Yeah.
Yes. So let me just share that I have a great affinity and just a lot of respect for those students who come here to study in a different language. I've done it myself. I studied in South America in Spanish. And at the time, you know, I was a good student and in English in my business programs. And when I went to university in Chile, it was quite a shock. Everything that could be different was different. And it took some getting used to. You know, there's a change in vocabulary, in just the maturity of the language. You know, I thought I spoke Spanish before I left. It turns out I knew a bunch of words, but there's no way that I couldn't really speak. And then I just went right into business school in Spanish, and it was quite a shock. And so when I see students coming here doing the same, you know, it's a new country, maybe it's a new climate, it's a new language. So a lot of respect. And I think we've put the supports in place for those international students. So whether it's support with their writing or support in helping find employment opportunities. So, I mean, I think our international students can be found in a good number of programs as we try to integrate them and show them what the Canadian workplace is like. Most of the international students are taking the on-campus programs. And so they are here, they live in our community, they come to campus every day. It's a beautiful place on the Pacific, you know, in this old growth forest. It's an incredible place to learn. And from what I've heard, you know, they're all really enjoying that experience. But if there's other more specific questions about being an international student, please do either post them in the chat or send them privately.
Thank you, Rob. I got another question. If you were going back and you were going to become an undergrad student, which program would you take and why?
Wow. Well, I know the answer to that. So it's our new business and sustainability program, which I am just so excited about. And I don't know if anyone watching is interested in business and sustainability. But what we've done with this program is truly quite remarkable. So I'll explain it like this, and hopefully it makes sense. We got rid of all the classes and all of the professors. And the entire program is based on live challenges, live cases with live clients. And so you will work on a project that involves business and sustainability. And as you work on this project, you'll require pieces of information that you would have learned in courses. And what we've done is we've digitized, we've modularized them so that they can be, you can go get them online in our software as you need them. So you're working on a project with a live client for 8 weeks. And so one group of students just finished a project on, I think it was food security. And they're looking at business and food security and community gardens and growing. And they're like, okay, so we need a little bit of accounting. And so we're able to deliver that. They need a little bit of consumer behavior. They need a little bit of strategy. And at the end of the 8 weeks, they've come up with this incredible solution or options for a live client. And now they've moved on to another project, and now they're working with a local First Nation, and they're working on Indigenous economic development. And this requires an entirely different set of modules. And so as they're exploring this issue, they're going to pick up more of these little modules. And so by the end of the program, they will have taken on maybe 16 or 18 different challenges, both in our community, up in our country. And they will have learned everything they will have learned in the course of a program, except you're not taking a class from 9 a.m. to 12 on a Monday morning. You're diving right into a real applied case, and you're being exposed to a variety of sustainability issues, of industries, and it is a very different way of learning. You're not sitting in class and taking notes. You're out there doing it, and we're giving you the information you need, the learning that you need to do this. I mean, we're there with you. There are facilitators that are guiding you and helping, but no more lectures, no more exams, and no more trying to figure out how am I going to use this in my work life. You only learn it when you need it to solve a problem. And so it's a really exciting way to see how business can make a positive social difference, economic, environmental difference.
Thank you, Rob. We might need to go back in time and come back to school.
Yeah, well, you can always come back. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, that is true. How would you describe the ideal RU student? What makes them different?
I think the RU student needs to be an independent thinker, someone who is committed to their education. We don't have many students that are coming straight out of school, and so our students know why they need an education. So there's a purpose behind why they're here. This is not something like it's just kind of expected as they go through life that they finish high school and then go on to do university. So our students are committed and independent and care about I think the caring piece is the one that that gets me the most. And so it's more than just about getting the education for everyone. I don't really know how to describe that. So because of our model, and you need to work well with other people and work well independently, you need to be able to multitask and juggle different priorities in life. I think those are some really important things, and we're here to help you with that. But this isn't, it isn't always such a straightforward, life happens, and it happens to all of us. And when you have families and jobs, there's often more variables where life can happen, and we're here for you then. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of rambled on that question. I don't really want there to be an ideal or typical RRU student. I love the diversity of it all. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Rob. And I think this is actually a great question. Do you think going back to study can be a healing process after a professional burnout? It can help refocus and help gain direction for the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to explore that a little bit more. I think to give you perspective, to think about what you're doing in life, to think about why you're doing it all, that personal journey, especially when we talk about, the change-making piece of it, where it is often the most inspiring place to be, but it is also the easiest place to burn out. When you put so much of yourself into something in work, you're working with a vulnerable population and they're having a tough time. It's really hard to let it go. The education lets you focus on yourself a little bit, which is good for the healing. And then honestly, when you get to come to Royal Roads, whether it's for your residency or a full-time program, this place just kind of like, how can you not heal yourself here? Just through the forests, the paths, the ocean, the mountains, everything. It's just an incredible place to be.
Thank you, Rob. This is very inspiring. Thank you for sharing. There's a few more questions actually. The next one is Andrea is wondering how social justice, equality, diversity, inclusion shows up in curriculum and faculty. Especially, how do you feel about the level of diversity of voices and perspective of faculty? And if you feel there room for, oh my goodness, sorry.
Yeah, there's room for improvement. How are you hoping to work towards that?
Yeah.
Okay. 100% there's room for improvement. It's something that we've been working on for some time. First around, I will say gender diversity within the faculty has been a priority over the last few years. And now as we explore both indigenization and how to incorporate more of that into our curriculum, there are no easy fixes. I mean, the idea of creating a new course and like, okay, we're going to teach about EDI doesn't feel authentic. This has to be integrated into the core DNA of our program. And some of that takes some time. Now, so in curriculum is an interesting discussion around academic freedom and what we can and cannot teach or can ask people to teach. But I don't think you can sit and listen to the dean speak and not think that I'm not going to have impact on my faculty and the type of approach that we all take. And so we have created new programs, corporate social innovation, social finance, working on one on more entrepreneurship. And then some of the other elements appear throughout the programs. I think Indigenous business is next. I can admit that it's a weakness within our faculty where we don't have, but we have strategies to address that and are working with both our advisory committees and local communities on how to better address those diverse needs. Yeah, I think I'm happy to follow up, but I think I'm good there.
Sounds good. There was a question about flexible admissions. Oh, before I move into the flexible admission, Andrea Mendoza is giving us, thank you, absolutely agree. It needs to be working to the approach, not just a one-off. So I think you covered or you answered her question, but as Rob said, Andrea, if you have any other questions, we are happy to follow up with you with any additional details. There was a question about flexible admissions and how that looks like. And I know my colleague Selena shared some information in the chat box, but is anything that you would like to add, Rob, about how that flexible assessment looks like?
I want to talk about flexible admission and why it's one of my favorite characteristics of Royal Roads. I can let you guys speak to the actual process and how those things get evaluated. But the flexible admission students are a real trait of Royal Roads. And so to get into a master's degree, for some people that maybe they haven't done an undergraduate degree, or maybe they went to in Canada a college and have a diploma, and maybe that was 10, 15, 20 years ago. Should that really determine whether or not you're an appropriate candidate for a master's program? And I don't think it is. It's not grades in a program you took a decade ago. It is more about what you've done with your life, and we take that holistic view of candidates and say, not everyone has had the privilege of like being able to go from high school directly into university, and with maybe no distractions and things, and you get good grades. There are other things in life that demonstrate your capacity to do well in a master's program. And we take all of that into account. And for students to come back to university when maybe they didn't think that it was going to be an opportunity for them, and to see them succeed and to see how they contribute to their program, to see the impact it has on their lives, is really just one of the most rewarding aspects of working at Royal Roads. And so I think it's just it's one of my favorite things about the university is how we assess candidates beyond just a grade. So if you are considering our MBA or our MGM program, there are no standardized tests. There's no GMAT scores that you need to submit, because those don't tell me that much about what you can do, but your resume absolutely can. Your accomplishments in life can absolutely tell me more than a standardized test. So we don't use them. And then to speak to maybe to one of Andrea's questions, or Andrea, I don't know, Mendoza's question. Those tests are often very biased and very difficult to assess. As through an EDI lens, those tests can be very problematic. So we're just not going to use them. And so we have students write and tell us through their statements about why they're coming to do our program. We take things like the letters of reference very seriously. We look into detail into people's resumes to see if we think they're a fit for our program.
Thank you, Rob. And that is the last question I got from for you, from our participants and myself. But is there anything else that maybe you want to share with people, or any final thoughts?
I would say, if you can make it work, I think now is the right time to do your business education. I think when I look at the changes that we have going on in the world, the idea of waiting or putting it off just feels like, I don't know, I think we have such an opportunity to make a difference. And if this education can help, and I believe it can, then I'd encourage you all to apply. The one thing I'll say is that I can guarantee if you do not apply, you won't get in. So you need to apply, and then we have the conversations about which program and when, but like, you need to apply, otherwise there's no chance. So yeah.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you for everyone that came today to have this conversation and this coffee with the dean. If you are ready to take the next step, we have an enrollment team that will be happy to support you and answer any of your specific questions. So I have here sharing their phone number, their email, as well as if you are an international team, we have an amazing team that will be able to support you through all the process. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out and connect with us. And with that said, I would say thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, the people that were behind the scenes helping us to make this session possible. And yeah, I hope you have a beautiful day, a wonderful afternoon or evening, wherever you are joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.